and no going to school. Take a look at this video right here. Over 2,000 people just filled up the streets here in the downtown area, so they followed that message loud and clear. I wanted to see who's backing these protests, and we checked out the National Shutdown website. Hundreds of groups support it. I'll give you a few here. Somali Student Association at University of Minnesota, Community Movement Builders, and the Palestinian. Today, the DOJ, as you mentioned, announced it opened a civil rights investigation into the death of Alex Preddy.
We're looking at everything that would shed light on what happened that day. It means we're looking at videos, talking to witnesses, trying to understand what happened.
And Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche says this recent video here showing Preddy days before the shooting spitting at federal agents and kicking out the taillight of their SUV.
I'm gonna get you nighttime blood sugar.
Oh, okay.
Investigation.
Yeah.
And also making headlines today is the FBI is going to now take the lead on this investigation, which DHS Secretary
Do you have a preference on which finger I
shared
poke?
right here on
probably this
Hannity,
one here.
as you know,
Okay.
last night, Sean.
All right, Brooks, stay warm. Thank you for that report. And following the fatal officer-involved shooting of Alex Preddy last Saturday, President Trump sent the border czar, Tom Homan, to Minneapolis to help oversee the administration's operation in the city. Now, his arrival, subsequent dialogue with the Minneapolis mayor, Jacob Smallfry, and Tim Walz, and also Keith Ellison signaled, he says, some progress between local officials and the administration, with Homan posting on X following the meetings, saying in part, quote, today I met with Governor Walz, Mayor Fry, and top law enforcement officials to discuss the issues on the ground in Minnesota. We all agreed we need to support our law enforcement officers and get criminals off the streets. While we don't agree on everything, these meetings were a productive starting point. Walz even offered some, well, for him, mild praise for Homan. At least he didn't call him Gestapo or Nazi. Take a look.
First of all, the meeting with Tom Homan, how did that go? What are your thoughts on that? Well, Tom Homan's a professional. Tom Homan landed last night, and he called me last night and asked me to have a meeting, and he was there at 9 o'clock. So, look, I think that's progress.
But while Mayor Smallfry also said his meeting with Homan was productive, he later followed that up with another post saying, I also made it clear that Minneapolis does not and will not enforce federal immigration law. Meanwhile, earlier today, Homan posted on X touting the work of ICE, the FBI, the Office of Refugee Settlement in locating 145,000 of the more than 300,000 unaccompanied children that the Biden administration turned over to unvetted sponsors and then lost complete track of.
I'd say just
following through
with
on one of President Trump's major promises. Here for his first interview since being sent to Minneapolis, border czar Tom Homan, who's
there's one juice that I use quite often, but that's
he said,
grape juice, not grape,
I don't want anybody to
we
die.
have
Anybody.
apple,
Very
cranberry,
clear.
and orange. Cranberry?
Absolutely. The president wants to de-escalate the situation. And they set the record straight, because my staff said they've seen a lot of people that say President Trump's backing off on his promise of mass deportation. That's just untrue. My message up there was the same message that's been since January 20th, when President Trump took the Oval Office. We're going to have a mass deportation, but we're going to prioritize the arrest of criminals and public safety threats. I said from day one, if you're in the country legally, you're not off the table. I looked at the numbers just about 15 minutes ago, Sean. President Trump's been in office just over a year. We got over 700,000 deportations between the border between us. That's a record. I've been in D.C. about 15, 16 years. I've overseen more deportations than any other man since the Eisenhower administration. So if anybody thinks that Tom Homan and President Trump ain't serious about immigration enforcement and having a mass deportation, then they weren't paying attention to the press conference. Prioritization is smart law enforcement. But if you're in the country legally, you're not off the table, and we'll find you too and deport you too.
All right, I'm going to scroll all of the criminals that ICE has been able to find inside of Minneapolis, but while I'm asking about that, you did start in 1984. By the way, President Barack Obama said all illegals had to be sent out of the country, and he you were actually working. He awarded you in 2015. He gave you the Presidential Rank Award for Distinguished Service, one of the highest honors for a U.S. federal civil servant. What has changed with the Democrats from where they were when Obama was doing the exact same thing that President Trump is doing? If anything, President Trump's focusing more on criminals.
They hate President Trump, and they don't want to see President Trump get a win. But President Trump is winning for this country every day. As you just said, 70% of everybody arrested are criminals. But, you know, and the numbers show it. Sean, we have the most secure border in the history of this country because of the work of President Trump and the men and women of the Border Patrol. But you know what also gives us the most secure border in this country? What ICE is doing right now. We've sent a message to the whole world. It's not okay to enter this country illegally. It's not okay to come in this country and take advantage of us. We're going to enforce the laws, and because what the whole world's seeing right now, there are consequences for violating our laws and entering the country illegally, which is a crime. There are consequences for ignoring a judge's order when you're ordered deported and you don't leave. A lot of the people arrested right now are fugitives. They've had the due process. They got to find an order, and we're looking for them too. President Trump is keeping his promise to the American people of a mass deportation, but he's also keeping his promise on making this country safe again, and that means we prioritize the public safety threats. But again, no one's off the table. If in this country in violation of law, we will deport you when we find you. It's that plain and simple. And for people that want to misinterpret what President Trump sending to Minneapolis means, then you're not paying attention. President Trump is going to Minneapolis to save lives of officers, to save lives of the community, and do smart law enforcement operations.
8,000% increase in threats against ICE officials, 1,300% increase in assaults against ICE agents, 3,200% increase in vehicular attacks against them. I want to play what you said, not actually more than once on this show. You predicted that if the rhetoric, Gestapo, Nazi, etc. continues, this is what you said would happen.
I said in March, Sean, back in March, I said if this hateful rhetoric doesn't stop, there's going to be bloodshed. Someone's going to die. I've seen this movie before. I've been doing this for 41 years. It's never been this bad. And of course, the left said I was crazy. But there's already been 3 shootings just in Texas.
I don't believe, and I don't think I see any indication. You met with Walls, you met with Fry, you met with Ellison, and Fry, after you met with him, said, I also made it clear Minneapolis does not and will not enforce federal immigration law. Okay, what does that mean? How do you interpret that? And is he violating the law by not assisting or not turning over illegal criminals that are in their justice system?
Well, here's what we have, Sean, meeting with the governor and AG and Mayor Fry. Here's what we came out with. The state prison system will honor our retainers. So we will continue to take those people in the custody of a safety and security of facility and not have to go on the street and look for them. The AG said that sheriffs can honor our retainers, and I'm meeting with sheriffs across the state to give us prior notification. Excuse me, he didn't say they would honor our retainers, said they can notify people.
What now?
Do you want melatonin?
And so give us time to
What's
get
that
there
mean?
and
It
take them to
helps you
custody and
sleep.
safety and security
I just noticed you
facility,
took it
and we're
last
working
night.
on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the whole purpose of me going up there was
Yeah.
for this reason.
It sounds
The more
good.
agents we have in the jails, the
I've got
arresting
your
people in the
melatonin,
safety and security of a
Cinnamon
jail.
Hot,
It's safer
your
for the
muscle
officer, it's
relaxer,
safer for the alien, it's safer
and
for
that
the community.
Cinctura,
So
the
one
medicine that's
agent
supposed to
can
help
arrest
with
a
those,
bad guy in a jail rather than
spasms
sending a
of
whole
pain.
team to the community. And with all the hate and the rhetoric intact, then we got to send another team for security. So what one agent can do in the jail, we got to send 15 or 16 guys to do. So if we get that cooperation, which we're working on, we got some commitments here, that means we can draw down on the number of agents there because we're in the jails. And that's what President Trump wants. He wants safe enforcement. He wants public safety threats taken out of this country. And the safest way to do that is in the safety and security of a law enforcement facility with their and that's what we're working on.
And you made it very clear, you're not leaving until the job's done.
Exactly right.
Well, I think that when Tom Homan says that, I think I would tend to believe you. Honestly, I'm praying for the safety and security of the people that are on the ground going after some very dangerous criminals, and I don't want anyone to get hurt, anyone to die, and I wish the rhetoric would stop and be toned down. Did they promise you in any way they'd calm down that rhetoric?
No, like the protesters is up to them, right? I'm
talking about the politicians.
Once we get the cooperation
of a town, and you willfully violate immigration law, you do not cooperate with the federal government as required by law, you're committing a crime and you should go to jail. Under my bill, Governor Walz and the mayor of Minneapolis, who are openly defying the laws on the books that have been there 30 years, would be subject to prosecution. We had a county clerk in Tennessee that objected to gay marriage, I understand, but she refused to enroll a marriage certificate because of her religious beliefs after the Supreme Court said gay marriage was legal. Get out of the job if you can't do it. To a mayor and a governor, change the law if you don't like it, don't defy it. We're becoming a country of chaos. Sanctuary cities lead to more illegal immigration, rampant fraud, and a breakdown of law and order. So here's what I'm telling mayors and governors. Change the law, don't defy the law. Here's what I'm telling my Senate Republican colleagues. Let's stand behind it a fair investigation, but let's stand behind the cops. If you're out there and frustrated as a Republican, we're not doing enough, I'm with you. Today we changed that. Eric Schmidt did a great job. I stood up and said, we're not going forward until we get a vote where we can stop sanctuary city policy, make it a crime to defy federal law, and let the Democrats tell us who they are. Do they want to be a country of sanctuary cities? Hell yeah. Do we want to be a country that eliminates sanctuary cities as the Republican Party? Hell yeah. Has anybody talked about Reagan Raleigh lately? She was killed by an illegal immigrant who was released from custody because they had no bed space. What about all the people that have been raped and murdered and tortured because of illegal immigration? What about them? I want the cops to be held accountable, but I support President Trump's desire to end the 4 years of madness of Biden. What are we doing as Republicans? We're trying to avoid going back to the Biden policies. What are Democrats doing? They're supporting sanctuary city policy. They're going to support sanctuary city governors and mayors who are defying the law because of the politics. I want to vote on the floor of the United States Senate. If you're for sanctuary cities and you want to continue that policy, let the public know where you're at. If you're like me, and I think most Republicans, we want to stop it. I want to be the party that is eliminating fraud, not talking about it. I want to get with John Kennedy and come up with a package to eliminate all the fraud around this crap. I want a clear defining moment in American history.
Okay, thank you now.
Supporting President Donald Trump want to end the insanity around sanctuary city policy forever. We want to take on these governors and these mayors who are insisting on breaking federal law because of their politics. I am proud of what I did today. I'm proud of Eric Schmidt. I'm proud of my Republican leaders. In 2 weeks, folks, we're going to have a debate. We funded the government, but we did not abandon common sense. As long as I'm around and my Republican colleagues, we're going to challenge the radical left. These people disgust me about what they're saying to our men and women of ICE. If they made mistakes, we'll hold them accountable. They're calling them Nazis. If you're frustrated, so am I. We're going to go back and take over this issue. 80-20. The public is with us. Republicans, don't be afraid to stand up for common sense. Don't let the liberal Democrats coach you into being ashamed of trying to change the country and reverse Biden policy. We're right. The public will be with us, but they got to see us fighting. We got to give them a chance to see the difference between us and liberal Democrats. In 2 weeks, we're going to have that chance, and I can't wait till John Kennedy gets on the floor and sticks it to them about the insanity of sanctuary cities.
I can't wait till he comes up here tonight.
Yeah.
Senator,
Strong letter to follow.
I think you're pretty happy and jacked up that you won that battle today.
I'm ready for the fight.
Appreciate your time.
God bless.
All right. Speaking of which, up next tonight, right here on Hannity.
I don't think that the comparisons with Nazi Germany are extreme, because that's what happened too. That's why ordinary German citizens began to accept the idea that certain members of their community would be singled out
Radical left simply refusing to tone down their vile rhetoric, and that includes Democratic Congressman Seth Moulton, who says it is appropriate to compare ICE agents to Nazis. He will join us next for a Hannity Shootout. We'll give him a chance to explain why he believes that. That's Straight Up. Don't want to miss it as we continue.
People they see walking out is Don Lemon from the crime scene, who knew what they were going to do and what action they were going to take and when the cops would arrive because they were breaking the law. And for him to turn around and say, I'm being targeted. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, imagine
he
Don
would not
Lemon's
hire
in a
the
riot.
attorney that he did.
Yeah. McCarthy, imagine he's in a riot
He would
and
not go hire.
he's filming this crew decide what they're going to hit and what stores to loot. And then he's like, I'm going to turn off my camera because the audience doesn't need to see this. But we'll see you inside Best Buy. We're pulling TVs out by the dozen. No, it's easy. It's so stupid. But you know what? This is where we are. We wish Don Lemon the best of luck. I'm sure Chris Cuomo wishes him luck too.
I'm sure they'll probably have a conversation.
All right, K-Mac. Trump has a plan for the move. An inside look at Kamala's blacklist. That's straight ahead.
The way.
You gotta get creative. I ran the stairs at my office. Preparations are complete. All the fear, all the anxiety. Am I tough enough? Am I good enough? I looked at the Summit Code and I said, I got this.
Everest Journey to the Top of the World, streaming now on Fox Nation.
A search warrant at the Fulton County Election Office, where they seized hundreds of boxes of documents related to the 2020 presidential election. Fox News correspondent David Spunt has the details. David.
Hi, Jesse. For the first time, we are hearing directly from the FBI director about the FBI search of the Fulton County election warehouse earlier this week. Kash Patel spoke with our colleague, Kayleigh McEnany, in an interview airing tomorrow morning at 10 Eastern.
We went in there, we followed the rules of the search warrant, the FBI and the DOJ went in and collected numerous pieces of evidence that the judge authorized us to collect, and what we're going to do next is go through the voluminous amounts of information collected and continue our investigation.
You may remember on Wednesday, agents took 700 boxes from this suburban Atlanta election warehouse. We know this investigation is related to the 2020 presidential election, though no mass fraud was ever proven in court. Interesting to note that Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard was on site. Lots of questions about why the head of the intelligence agencies would be on scene for an FBI search. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche defended her appearance today.
I think her presence shouldn't be that there shouldn't be questioned, of course, and that's a big part of her job. And so the fact that she was present in Atlanta that day, is something that shouldn't surprise anybody.
President Trump yesterday gave kudos to Gabbard.
He's working very hard on trying to keep the election safe, and she's done a very good job. And they, as you know, they got into the votes. You got to sign judge's order in Georgia, and you're going to see some interesting things happening.
When pressed earlier today at an unrelated news conference, Blanche declined to talk about the investigation in Atlanta as it's an active probe. Jesse?
47 showed up to the Melania premiere with a +1, and he was very, very proud of his date.
Do you believe you'd be the man you are today if you hadn't met your wife? That's an interesting question. I better be very careful with it. That's a very dangerous. He's asking me a very dangerous question. I think she's really been a great help. She's done a great job. Very respected, very smart, very measured. Sometimes when I'm not so measured.
Nice to see couples going on dates in D.C. again now that it's safe. But things are about to get really loud in the nation's capital. Trump just ordered up an IndyCar race on the streets of D.C. America's 250 Grand Prix. The White House says it's the first race in the capital since 1801, when Thomas Jefferson had a horse race to celebrate July 4th. The Indy cars have a lot more horsepower, 190 miles an hour down Pennsylvania Avenue.
This is free for the American people to come to your nation's capital and see a great road race. Freedom, America, speed, and road racing. It doesn't get more American than that, Mr. President.
But it's not all glitz and glamour. America has to stay on the cutting edge. And Trump is thinking big.
Putting a nuclear reactor on the moon, the Chinese said they're going to do it. We're going to do it first. We're going to have rovers on the moon. We're going to be mining, manufacturing, 3D printing the regolith, refining helium-3 on the moon.
But before we go to the moon, the economy needs to boom. So Trump's nominating a new Fed chair, Kevin Warsh. He and 47 hopefully see eye to eye, unlike too late Jerome. Sounds golden, but Warsh better be ready to work like a dog, because once Trump has your number, there's no more sleeping.
President Trump sets the tone. I'll get a call. Scott, I didn't wake you, did I? No, sir. I'm always up at 1:52 on Tuesday. So, like, you got to keep up with him. And like I said, it's an honor to serve.
Trump works his team hard, but the press might have it harder.
Why are you suing?
Who are you with?
I'm BBC News.
You're a loud person. Very loud. Let somebody else have a chance.
Can you answer the question? Why are you suing IRS?
ABC, take attendance.
You're suing.
Go ahead. I didn't call on you.
The media wants you to think every day is a bloodbath. But inside the White House, it's all hard.
He realized why I was there, because I had lost my son Andrew, and the president was an incredible friend when I lost him. And so he took my hand, and he said to me, come on up to the stage and tell the world about your boy Andrew. And of course, that was, something that was really meaningful to me. It's just my blessing to work for you, sir.
On the other side, Democrats are asking, where's the love? Andrew Yang says Kamala's campaign blacklisted him. Quote, Kamala Harris's campaign has put me on a list of people not to use or refer to due to the fact that I'd crossed the line in my disrespect of Joe Biden. If disrespecting Biden puts Democrats on a list, Clooney, Barack, Nancy, Chuck, the coup crew, all have to be on it. If Democrats listened to people instead of canceling them, they'd be a lot better off. Young men swung right last election. Democrats say they want them back, so what's the game plan? Tax gyms and fantasy leagues. Trust me, guys aren't going to go for that. In New York, Kwame the Commie wants to raise taxes because the city spent all its money taking care of illegals. Shocker. Wonder who let him in. Democrats tax everything, then wonder why people move south. Speaking of knee pads,
He's Californian. I think he's probably never lived outside of California. To go on the international stage is a big deal. And he had to go to Davos to see all the CEOs he chased out of California.
But Gavin's not focused on the Golden State. He's focused on 47. He wants his job. But how can he get a promotion when he can't even do the job he has?
Screwing around. He tried to light democracy on fire when he lost the election. Tried to light it on fire.
Fire? Bad analogy, knee pads. Fox News contributor Joe Concha. All right, so it's kind of shaping up the contours of the midterms. Looks like Trump's dialed in on the economy. The Democrats, I really don't know what they're doing. What do you think's going on, Joe?
Well, I look at the polls, Jesse, and I see the Democratic Party polling at 19% approval. I mean, ear hair is more popular than the Democratic Party at this point, Jesse. That ain't good. And leading the way as their nominee in 2028, perhaps, is Gavin Newsom, the guy you just talked about. This is the same guy who, is presiding over the highest income taxes in the country, highest unemployment rate in the country, highest poverty rate in the country. The guy who you can count on one hand in terms of how many homes have been rebuilt in the Palisades since those fires a year ago. And I think in the end, what the American people value most is authenticity, even if they disagree with the person who is talking. And Newsom's $18 billion train that was never built is more real than Gavin Newsom right now, who's learning that hair gel and veneered teeth can only get you so far, especially in states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, North Carolina, Georgia. Those working class people that decide voters are going to look at this guy from California the same way they looked at Kamala Harris, an elitist, The French laundry guy, the guy who sent his kids to private school during COVID while he shut down public schools, I'm sorry. He is not authentic. I think that's painfully obvious. And he only has trolling and duplicity to run on at this point. And I think in the end, if they run Gavin Newsom, it's going to be the same results we saw with Kamala Harris. J.D. Vance wins every swing state, the popular vote, and Democrats are in the woods once again because they picked another California person who can't relate to people, real people, in the parts of the country they need to win.
It's such a good point about getting outside of California. Any liberal with good hair can win the office in California, but you got to campaign in South Carolina, and New Hampshire, and Iowa, real people at real diners, and he's never ever really proved himself outside of the Golden State. Do you think Democrats are getting a little ahead of themselves by anointing him? Is there some secret Democrat that has a lot of talent that I don't know about that's going to sweep off the sidelines? Tell me, Joe.
Is it Stephen A. Smith? I mean, he talks about running for president.
I hope so.
J.B. Pritzker has been... Yeah, that would be interesting, right? I kind of like Stephen. But in the end, J.B. Pritzker, Ralph Cramden over in Illinois, he's being touted by James Carville today, for example, as somebody who could win. But in the end, he also has an authenticity problem. And he doesn't have that it factor. Like Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, they were electric on the speech. I think, again, Don Lemon, I think, will be probably the nominee before J.B. Pritzker is because they're not going to, quite frankly,
that's actually not a bad idea. I mean, Don Lemon now is in play. If he beats the rap, he's a martyr. He's got celebrity status. I mean, they could put him on the ticket.
Yeah.
Goals of real doing. We call it diplomacy, security, and economy. Those are the three known ones. We believe there's a fourth circle that unfortunately a lot of time is missing. And this is what we call the human element. Working with the younger generation in order to stabilize the first three, we are in the first steps with the Abraham Accords of creating those stabilizer.
What obstacles have you faced when trying to involve young people?
A lot of people in our region do not understand who is the other. Muslims would not understand what to Jews believe in. I think education plays a role, and if we need to reverse that, we have to work also on education.
What is each of your personal visions for the Middle East?
Thousands and thousands of youth that actually meet one another in a very inclusive way. That's a way to build something that is stable. Nobody's going anywhere.
We do have a very rich region, not only economically, but also culturally. So I don't want them to stop dreaming.
Thank you so much for the conversation, Tom and Abdu.
Thank you.
For more stories on people shaping tomorrow's Middle East, visit partners.foxnews.com/med.
48% of Americans don't get enough magnesium, which is vital for bone, nerve, and muscle health. I recommend Qnol's Magnesium Glycinate. It's formulated for high absorption and is gentle on the stomach. Qnol, the brand I trust.
You want to file free?
The Oscars came early this year, and the award for Best Director goes to...
I would like to thank my husband, America's director.
Hollywood's not applauding. They're spiraling and singing.
Self-defense, sir. Just don't believe your eyes. It's our blood and bones and these whistles and foams against Miller and Gnome's dirty lies.
Celebs aren't chasing hits anymore. They're chasing revolutions.
We will not be iced out. This is not going to happen. They can't take us all down. If the whole world showed up on Putin's doorstep or on the Iranian's doorstep or in Washington, it would stop. They'll kill them 550 million, however, but the rest of us would survive with a new... This is time for a revolution.
But revolutions don't start in the Hollywood Hills. So Lady Gaga left Tinseltown for Tokyo and took the revolution on tour.
My heart is aching, thinking about the people, the children, the families all over America who are being mercilessly targeted by ICE.
Japan's borders are about as tight as Gaga's forehead. Nothing's getting in. But she had to go overseas because apparently America's too dangerous to tour now. That's what the rock band Queen said. Dangerous? Crime's at a 125-year low. Doesn't matter. Kathy Griffin says, investigate your neighbors.
It's time to talk to your neighbors, find out if they're MAGA or not. Sorry, but we have to know who's on our team and start to plan.
Yeah, Kathy Griffin knocking on doors and threatening neighbors if they're MAGA. It's about as dumb as what Alex Preddy did. Please don't do that. Sonny Hostin says silence is violence.
This may be an unpopular opinion, but I think that if you do not speak out when these atrocities are happening, you are almost complicit. I think you have a requirement as a human being, as an American, to speak out, and especially if you have millions and millions of followers and a huge platform.
Bill Maher, he disagrees. He's telling Hollywood, please stop talking. Sydney Sweeney got the memo. The press is desperate for her to slip, and she's not cracking. Quote, I'm not a political person. I'm in the arts. I'm not here to speak on politics. I believe we should all love each other and have respect and understanding for one another. Sweeney, at a very young age, is showing remarkable business savvy and discipline. And if she continues on this path, she can have a career that appeals to the entire market. The Sydney Sweeney model should be something entertainers follow. Well, it's everyone's decision, say what you want, but she is not a dumb blonde. Republican strategist Caroline Sunshine, also not a dumb blonde, joins me now. It is very rare to see someone of her status and success at that age pull that I'm not going to offend other people when I open my mouth about politics and just stick to the business. Why don't more people follow this model?
She's so smart, Jesse. You know, and she just launched this lingerie brand and it's already sold out. And at first I thought, okay, she's being smart and following the Michael Jordan principle, which is Republicans and Democrats buy sneakers too. But then I thought liberal women don't buy lingerie because they hate men and they would rather burn their bra than wear them. Also, look, Sydney Sweeney, she's hot, okay? And for all the men watching, I know what you're thinking. Everybody sees it. It is okay to say it. Sydney Sweeney has huge potential to make millions of dollars off of this very smart strategy to not alienate half the country either way by being vocal about her political beliefs.
Isn't it funny, though, how the media keeps on trying to get her to say what she thinks about politics? It's like they can't just leave her alone and respect the fact she doesn't want to talk politics. It's like, I guess in Hollywood, you have to say you're a liberal. And then you get, I guess, approval, and then, you know, you can get elevated in the industry. She's not going to play that game. You think this is going to work?
No, she is not going to play that game. She reminds me so much of Melania Trump, who's just the most unbothered first lady I've ever met. And I love seeing our first lady rather than, I saw a clip the other day of Michelle Obama on a podcast complaining about how hard it is to be a black woman. And I thought, wasn't Michelle Obama first lady like a decade ago? And also her husband was elected twice to be president of this country and he's a black man. So I'm sorry, why are we talking about this? I don't know if you saw that clip too of the GQ reporter that tried to corner Sydney Sweeney over her ad. She goes, you know, she's so smug and condescending. I just want to give you a chance to, you know, maybe like apologize. And Sydney just goes, no, I'm good. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm good. I don't have anything to apologize for. That's exactly how you handle these people, Jesse.
Did you have to handle these people? You were a child actress.
So I used to work on the Disney Channel, and then when I went to work for President Trump, first as an intern and then as a staffer in his White House, I was suddenly canceled. Nobody had any problem with me before, and all of a sudden you step up to work for President Trump and cancel culture kicks in. And, you know, I'm not going to sit here and complain about people saying mean things about me on the internet. Like, my ancestors fought in World War II with the Battle of the Bulge, so I'm a little bit tougher than that. but it's the double standard in Hollywood. I see all these actors and actresses right now thinking that they're now policy experts on immigration, speaking out about ICE. Where's the cancel culture that's coming for them? And by the way, Jesse, I don't want to hear anything about ICE from people who live in gated communities, from people who have bodyguards, from people who protected predators like Harvey Weinstein, and people whose jobs are never going to be taken from illegal immigrants.
Right.
Give me a break.
I mean, I think you can talk whatever you want about politics when you're worth $300 and $400 million like Bruce Springsteen, or $1 billion, but until you get there, I'd keep my mouth shut. Maybe that's just me. Seems to work. Thank you so much. Great to see you on your debut on Jesse Waters Primetime.
Thanks for having me, Jesse.
Sink or Swim is next. He was in on the crime. Lemon met up with the mob ahead of time. He knew the target and admitted he was in on the operation. Shutting down a church service was the goal. Lemon knew it. It was premeditated.
They're getting the operation together again. This is an operation that is a secret, that they invited folks out. Can't tell you what is going to happen, but you're going to watch it live unfold here on the Dominant Show. There's a reason they have so many white people. They're just going to be honest. It's because of the operation that they're doing today. It's important to have allies, as I said, white allies here. So that is what I can say. I turned our camera off of them because they're giving some critical information here. But there we go. Everybody's ready to go.
But when does a journalist turn off their cameras? His job is to give us critical information, not hide it. He's admitting he's conspiring to conceal evidence of the crime. Even CNN's like, no bueno. But he clearly knew something was taking place that day with the protesters. He told his viewers on YouTube to stay tuned because there was something about to happen. At one point, when Lemon was inside the church, he said he was surprised that the cops hadn't shown up yet, acknowledging that he knew it was against the law. At one point, Lemon notices kids are crying and says they're being traumatized. And then he says, like, oh, well, that's the whole point of the operation. The indictment says children thought their parents were going to die. Parents were grabbing their children and fleeing for safety. Lemon's mob was menacing families and calling them Nazis. He was encouraging and supporting the reprehensible behavior. And at one point, thanked the ringleader. Lemon wasn't an independent journalist. He was on their team. Listen.
White supremacist! What's that going to be?
This is a white supremacist agenda!
Why do you say that?
No, dude, I'm ready. What team are you on? Come on, man.
This is not Lemon. All right, well,
sorry, brother. I'm so sorry. He's very much on our team. Lemon was even handing out refreshments to the crowd.
Do you want some coffee?
Lemon is on the front lines right now. Follow Don Lemon. He ain't on CNN no more, so he's right here in the front line.
Come get some coffee.
Don Lemon does some coffee for y'all.
And donuts.
And donuts. Trump called Don Lemon the dumbest man on television, but now he's the dumbest man not on television.
I've spent my entire career covering the news. I will not stop now. In fact, there is no more important time than right now, this very moment, for a free and independent media that shines a light on the truth and holds those in power accountable. Again, I will not stop now. I will not stop ever. I will not be silent. I look forward to my day in court.
If Don Lemon was covering the news, he would have stayed outside the church and interviewed the congregation leaving. Imagine if Matt Lauer and his buddies are driving around East Hampton and decided to light a cop car on fire just as a protest. And then they get caught. And Lauer says, "Officer, I'm innocent. I recorded the whole thing on my phone. I put it on YouTube." No! Lemon even went on a show afterwards and called everybody in the congregation a white supremacist. That's not going to sit well with the jury in Minnesota. And the counties they're pulling the jury from in Minnesota, a lot of these counties are Trump country. Lemon posted the whole crime on his channel and made money off of it. And he's going to need a lot more of that now because his lawyer doesn't come cheap. He hired Abbe Lowell, Hunter's attorney, who rang up millions in legal fees repping the First Son. Good thing Lemon was making $6 million a year at CNN because this case is going to cost him. His attorney says, quote, "This unprecedented attack on the First Amendment and transparent attempt to distract attention from the many crises facing this administration will not stand. Don will fight these charges vigorously and thoroughly in court." The unprecedented attack on the First Amendment was Don and his boys canceling Sunday Mass. Biden arrested plenty of journalists who were filming on January 6th, and they didn't even go inside of the Capitol. They stayed outside and were still convicted. Imagine if Nick Shirley and a crew bum rushed a synagogue or a mosque, started making kids cry, yelling they were all going to hell, and then claimed he was just a journalist? Prosecutors would drop the hammer. But Jane Fonda says the wrong Don's in handcuffs.
Okay. So I know Don Lemon. My husband created CNN, and I will fight for their right to speak, which is guaranteed in our Constitution. They arrested the wrong Don.
The freedom to worship is nearly absolute in America. If you can burst into houses of worship and start threatening people, America's over. It's toast. We might as well live in the jungle. And journalists don't have a right to shut down church services. No one has that right. Being a journalist doesn't put you above the law. I know that's what many people in the news think, but I know Don Lemon's probably going to say he was targeted because he was black or he was gay, but being black and being gay doesn't put you above the law either. Don Ronaldo Lemon, yep, Ronaldo's his middle name, is innocent until proven guilty, and he'll have his day in court. But until then, the judge says he's not allowed to leave the country. And unfortunately for Mr. Lemon, he has to cancel his cruise to the south of France. Kevin McCarthy is the former Speaker of the House. I mean, I know we like to joke about this because it's Don Lemon and it's just absolutely insane what he's up to. He's obviously in it for the attention, and now he's got it, plus a lot of legal bills. But imagine you're there with your family in church and a big angry mob storms in and starts calling you a Nazi and won't let you leave. Well, think of what that does to young children. Do they want to go to church the next Sunday? Are they going to be scared anytime they walk into that church? Are they going to be fearful that they're doing something wrong, worshiping their own God? I mean, he was part of a robbery and then wants to think, what did I do wrong? I remember under the Biden and others where they would arrest people who were simply praying pro-lifers outside of an abortion clinic. They didn't storm inside, but they got arrested from the outside. I mean, Don Lemon was in on the planning. He knew what they were going to do. He knew who they would pick to go in. It wasn't covering it from afar like a news person would do. Now look, I know he got the same attorney as Hunter Biden, but I don't think Don Lemon knows how to paint paintings. And I don't think an auto pen will work this time. He's going to have a much harder time. Yeah, now the media is defending Lemon. They're saying he was targeted, of course. This is retribution. I mean, I don't ever think that Donald Trump was ever intending to arrest Don Lemon. Don Lemon walked into a church and terrorized it. It's against the law. How is the media defending this? It's clear. There was no targeting. The only target was the people that broke the law inside the church. That's where they saw their face. That's where they knew what you planned. That's why you went across and intimidated. I mean, think about if you're a young family. Your kids are on another side of the church. People are coming in all of a sudden, and they plan so they have certain looks and others so you won't know what's there, and it all takes apart at once. It's for your children. That is a scary moment. Yeah, I mean, if I get up with a bunch of dudes and we all decide we're going to beat somebody up, and we know who we're going to beat up. I know as a journalist who we're going to beat up, and we all go over there together, we meet up at the place, and then they beat this guy up, and I film it, and I'm there, and I encourage it, and I joke about it, I laugh about it, and then I go home. I'm in on it. I'm in on that action. How is that not clear to the people that cover the news? You know what would be even more proving? That you're in on it while it's happening. You say, I can't believe the cops aren't here yet. What do you think the jury's going to think then? Did you know you were breaking the law? Was it premeditated as you sat outside? I can't show your faces, and why we're bringing a lot of white people in here is because how we have it all planned out. Yeah, like, I'm not going to show you what they're about to do next because it might compromise the operation. Have you ever seen a reporter do that before? it's like so obvious that he's in on it. Reporters sit behind the line. The people want law and order, and that's what they're going to get. Crime just dropped to the lowest level since 1900. But some people still think they're above the law. Former CNN host Don Lemon was just hanging out with Busta Rhymes last night in LA. But this morning, he was arrested at the crack of dawn. Lemon was in LA getting ready to cover the Grammys when he was handcuffed in his hotel room, not consensually. He was taken into custody for storming into a Minnesota church. Lemon joined a rowdy mob that busted into Sunday Mass, trapped the congregation in the pews, and started threatening them, screaming at them, intimidating them. They told kids their parents would burn in hell. They yelled at them that they were in the devil's house. Parents couldn't find their kids because they were blocked. A woman was injured trying to escape. Lemon got up in the pastor's face.
We're here to worship Jesus. That's why we're here. Okay, that's why we're here. That's what we're about.
Do you think Jesus would be understanding and
we're about
love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them?
No one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church, my family, so I asked that you actually would also lead this will.
I hear we gotta get turned to the other side.